Welcome to my channel. My name is Valerie and today we will be working on 2 fall signs. Super simple and super easy. The first one we'll be using Chalk Couture products. These are so easy to use and they come in so many different designs. The stencils are reusable, so keep that in mind. That's why I'm labeling the back of these so that I know which ones to put them back on after I've washed them. So that's an important step just to keep yourself organized. And then after that, I will cut the stencil apart and we will get to sign making. The next thing we need to do, since these are brand new transfers is just another word for stencil, that's how Chalk Couture calls them, you want to remove the extra stickiness from the back. This is an important step for brand new transfers. You don't necessarily have to do it with the one that you've used several times. So this just helps you lift it off of your surface easier once you've applied your ink or paint. The piece of wood I'm using is actually just a piece of salvaged wood, nothing fancy. You can buy sign boards from Chalk Couture if you want something pre-made. This one I just had this piece of wood and I figured it would be the perfect size for this stencil. So now I'm just lining it up and making sure everything is straight. The first color we will be using is Current Jam, and this is chalk paste which comes with your stencil or transfer from Chalk Couture if you join their monthly subscription. They also have little pots of this paste. If you don't want to go that route, you can also use a chalk paste to use these transfers, and that works just fine as well. So what you're going to do is take a little squeegee, take just a little dab of the paste, and smooth it right on over your transfer. You don't want to go too thick, just nice and thin and smooth. And now for the big reveal. This is my favorite part. It's just so fun and so satisfying for whatever reason. So you don't want to pull on the diagonal because you will stretch out your transfer. So always pull straight down and kind of like a band-aid. Just go ahead and do it. So I missed filming the word blessings, but it was the very same process I did for the word fall. I just used a different color. And after I am done applying the paste to the transfer sheet, I take it upstairs and give it a good rinse and let it air dry on a towel. And then I'll place it back on the backer sheet, which is what you saw in the beginning that I was marking, so I know which backer sheet to put it on. And here you see me just kind of playing around with that leaf, trying to figure out where it will look best on the sign. Our third color for the day is Pesto, and I did want to mention that you do need to make sure that the words fall are dry before you apply your leaves like this. Otherwise, you're going to pull up that paste. You still have to be careful when you apply that transfer over if you're kind of layering like this, and just kind of smooth it over gently. Don't push too hard because again, you don't want to pull up the paste that you've already applied. In the background there, you can kind of see me using the fuzzing cloth again to remove that extra stickiness before I apply it to my wood board. And this is especially important if you are layering a transfer over top of paste that you've already applied. So always make sure you do that. You can use an old towel too if you don't have a fancy mat like this. It all works the same, just to remove that extra tackiness. I felt like the sign needed just a little something extra, so I'll be taking some jute or twine and wrapping it around the ends just to create a little, kind of like a little border, I guess you would say, and just tying it on there. All right, moving on to sign number 2. Again, this is just a piece of scrap wood. It had already been painted white. I'm not sure with what kind of paint. And we will be using this cute We will be using this cute stencil from Essential Stencil. And I always use some painter's tape to hold my stencil down. Some people just kind of hold it with their hands, but I always find that I end up shifting and then your stencil's all messed up. So just take that extra step, put some painter's tape on there, and you'll probably thank yourself in the end. For the words on this stencil, I will be using DIY paint and Little Black Dress and a stenciling brush that you can pick up from your local craft store. And really the amount of paint left on the lid of the jar usually works just fine, because you don't want to use a big heavy dab of paint or you'll have bleed through in your stencil, and that's always disappointing. So really just keep dabbing and dabbing and dabbing and dabbing until you cover your whole stencil. So this little pumpkin was a little bit difficult to get the effect that I wanted. I didn't want it to be a black pumpkin, it just seemed like it would be kind of boring to do just a black and white sign for this. So I did want a little black on it for dimension, and then the first paint I used didn't quite work out well, so then when I was done I went back and added some more, but you'll see that in a bit. For the stem I did use some more DIY paint and just this little Q-tip and dab that on. It just seemed easier. I didn't have a tiny brush to do that with, and it worked out pretty well. Okay, so I lied. I forgot that I did actually find a little paintbrush, and it worked a lot better than the Q-tip. I thought it was a good idea, but that's part of crafting. You just have to keep trying things and see what works. So this is the paint color I chose first for the pumpkin, and while I do love Fusion Mineral paint, this just wasn't the right shade. It wasn't vibrant and it was kind of translucent. I just thought that I didn't have any orange paint available, but you'll see in a little bit that I did end up finding some. So I ended up putting a coat of this on and just didn't like it, and then I remembered that my daughter has a stash of acrylic paint. So after I do this and decide I don't like it, I end up finding that paint and using it, and then the pumpkin comes together. It's magic! Look at the sign now! So I didn't record these final steps, but I did want to show you the paint I used, and I used this little tiny paintbrush after the stencil was removed and just went back over that pumpkin, and I like it so much better. It has much more character. And then I added jute to the top and bottom for a little texture. So here are my two signs. I hope you enjoyed and maybe are inspired to make your own fall signs for your home.